Rockstar Gang, what up? What up? Appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Welcome to today's show, Carolina Panthers 2024 season key questions and concerns. So, before we get into today's episode, make sure you pound that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on new content. And of course, as always, you can become a member today if you want to go the extra mile. And then, of course, you can also follow me on all of my social media and all that stuff. So, anyways, the biggest concerns, right? The biggest concerns to really this team. We're going to discuss a lot of them because there are a lot of narratives out there to what the biggest concerns could be, right? For me is, and you're going to get the ones that are biggest for me today. We're going to harp on those today. So before we get into it, let's start off with quote of the day, of course. Set your goals high. Don't stop till you get there. Bo Jackson. We already got Landon in the chat. What up? What up, Landon? And we got Mark Burks. Mark Burks comes in and says there's only $6 million in cap space, $7.5 million if we cut Eddie Pinheiro. What can we do realistically to fill some of these holes in the depth, namely cornerback? Mark Burks, it's funny that you made this comment because we're going to be discussing – that's exactly what we're going to be discussing today. That's actually one of the topics we're actually going to be discussing is the corner position, because it is one of my biggest concerns going into next season. Of course, but we will definitely get into that. Yo, Panther Nation, step on that like button on your way in. Marcos Cash, appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. So let's get started. We already got some people already getting questions in, getting there, commenting their biggest questions or concerns for the Panthers this season, which I love to see already. All right, so first off, can Bryce Young become a leader? That's the first question, right? Can this guy actually be a leader among men in this Panthers locker room, right? I think that it's a question that we all need to be having. Can this guy actually lead? Can he actually look like a first overall quarterback that he was drafted to be, right? Because that's another question we've been having, right? Because if you think about it, last season, here's the thing. He's coming off. We have to hope that this kid's going from the rookie blues to the leadership cues, right? Because there was a lot of last season woes, right? And we're trying to make those things ancient history, but it's not ancient history. It's still something that's brought up. I mean, Bryce Young has this uncanny ability to stash away the past, like winter clothes. Like he just tosses it away. And entering his sophomore NFL year, there has been this brimming of optimism despite even the last season. And that could have crushed the lesser mortals, and Young remained steadfast. It's a testament as to why he was the top pick of the 2023 draft. But Young's secret weapon is that he's a rock solid psychological kid. He has a psychology degree from University of Alabama. His dad's a therapist. His mother's a special education teacher, a psychologist father. So his mental fortitude is a familiar thing. It's a family heirloom, basically. And he's even came out and said it's helped him through his whole life. But the another thing is he's got the Dalton wisdom. right? Backup quarterback Andy Dalton, the NFL's unofficial quarterback whisperer, I guess you could say, has summed it up perfectly lately that saying that he's the type Bryce is just that type of person that he is mentally, right? That's why he stands out among the number one picks who have fizzled. But here's the thing about Bryce. He has the $1 million question or rather the $1 million question is that the Panthers' entire season hangs on Bryce Young, right? Can he transform from a promising rookie year or a promising rookie season? I mean, I shouldn't even say it's promising. I would say that there was flashes of promise, okay? Can he transform from last year to a bona fide franchise quarterback? Can he be that leader of a franchise quarterback? He's got a whole new reinforcements, right? They revamped the offensive line. They got Deontay Johnson. They went out, got Xavier Legette, along with you get Robert Hunt, you get Damian Lewis. They bolster up the line, right? They brought in Jonathan Brooks. They got tight end Jadavion Sanders. He's got an arsenal now. But Jadeveon Clowney recently came out and said this kid is very quiet. But there has been that, but Jadeveon Clowney also made other comments. But Young's leadership is key for this team this upcoming season, right? A lot of people have said that he has grown. A lot of people have, a lot of people have said he hasn't grown, right? Trying to see these comments real quick. Go over. I'm confused there. Anyways, but apparently Young's leadership has grown, right? Andy Dalton's been pointing that out in the media lately. They said that a lot of people are saying there's an increased confidence both on and off the field. His large role in the community has been noted. This isn't just a quarterback; it's a quarterback on a mission, I think. But you got to think about this: if we comparing recent quarterbacks, right? Kyler Murray, 2019, 2020. All right, 2019 to 2020. Kyler Murray improved from a 5-10-1 to an 8-8. That's a notable rise. Had a notable rise in completion and percentage in QBR. Joe Burrow, 2020, 2021. He jumped from a 2-7-1 record to a 10-6 and nearly doubling his passing yards, right? Trevor Lawrence, 2021, 2022, leaped from 3-14 to 9-8, significantly increasing his touchdown to interception ratio and QBR, right? So for Young, the sophomore surge is within reach. He can do it, right? His rookie stats, 2-14, 59.8% completion, over 2,800 yards last year. He had 11 touchdowns to 10 interception ratio. So obviously set the bar kind of low, right? It's clear, right? Now he's got the 9 Young Foundation, right? The offseason goal was not just football related, but deeply personal. Young has launched his own foundation, really focusing on mental health awareness for teens. He has leaned on teams' mental health, clinical or clinician. I think that's how you pronounce it, or clinician. I can't pronounce that. I know it's basically a therapist, right? Last season, and he aims to pay it forward, right? Now you bring in Coach Canales, who seems to be that right mentor for him. Entering his first year, Dave Canales, who's positive, constructive approach has been a seems like a breath of fresh air for Bryce Young. Another thing is that the deep ball, right? We've been talking about that. No more dink and dunk passes for Young. He's got this new juice, as that everyone likes to talk about. Johnson Leggett is letting it fly. Seems that him and Johnson in these past OTAs and mandatory minicamp have really made a connection, and Johnson's knack for separation is going to be a huge boost for Young's confidence. And I think making the deep ball a viable weapon once again, I think with Leggett on the field. But let's talk about that Clowney factor. Back to that Clowney thing. Clowney, this team's basically this team's the resident hype man, obviously, because of his comments trying to, talking about getting another resident there and Stephon Gilmore, trying to bring him back. But Clowney recently came out and acknowledged Young's quiet energy, but then he said he's out there making plays, basically, and he's just not a talker, right? He's not a shit talker, but he says that Clowney says that it does kind of remind him of Deshaun Watson, who is a silent assassin, but we all know what Deshaun Watson was before the whole scandal and everything came out, right? I mean, if Bryce can be even close to that, you're right. When Deshaun Watson was putting up 4,000 yards every season, then we have something, right? But the leadership style, his leadership style is a little bit more organic, I would say. It's not forced, right? He recognizes the need to fill the energy gaps when it needs to be, right? Adjusting his demeanor to what fits the team's needs, right? Running back Miles Sanders has even says that the kid's made a big leap recently. So I think obviously, can he be a leader, right? I think it kind of comes down to is that can he transform from last year to a bona fide franchise quarterback? He's got the bodyguards. He's got the offensive line. He's got all these shiny new toys in the backfield. He's got and at receiver. He's got a head coach known for resurrecting quarterbacks' careers. Basically like a car. I mean, and the guy's done it. And if Young can rise to this occasion, this basically second chance, the Panthers have a good chance this season. It won't be a question or concern to me. The question is, can he lead these guys? Can he become a leader? Can he be a vocal point in this offense? Can he get in guys' faces? Can he say, okay, that was my fault? Or can he get into the offensive line and say, y'all guys need to step up? Or, Deontay Johnson, you need to step up. Can he be those, like, quarterbacks are supposed to go up to these guys and be like, hey, man, I need you to step up. Or, and so can he be that vocal leader that the Carolina Panthers need? That's a big question mark for me, because I'm not so sure he can, right? That's part of being a number one overall quarterback. That's part of what you're supposed to do, right? I just don't know if he can become a leader. I just don't know. But it's a concern for me. I got us somewhere around 8 to 9. Michael Reap comes in and says, keep pounding, brother. Appreciate you joining. I got us somewhere around 8 or 9 or somewhere in that ballpark. I'm still sticking to my 6 and 11, 7 and 10 record. I think you're crazy, Landon. I got us winning 6, 7 games, 8 at most. I say because our schedule looks easy. Yeah, Landon, but schedules in the NFL look easy, but that doesn't mean that it ends up being easy. I mean, we're talking about you're literally talking about a team that went from 2-15 to win 12 games. It doesn't happen. The last time the Carolina Panthers had that bad of a losing season, the next season they won 7 games. So, again, I just can't do it. I can't sit here and say they're going to win 12 games. That doesn't matter if that schedule looks easy or not. Yeah, another thing is that's question for me is who's going to step up and be that leading back? Because like we have a committee in this backfield right now that is like having too many cooks in the kitchen. So it's like someone's going to have to step up and be that Gordon Ramsay, right? Jonathan Brooks could be that guy, but expecting a rookie fresh off an ACL injury to carry the load to me is like asking a toddler to carry the groceries, right? Um, the Panthers need a running back who averages more than 3.8 yards per carry. And anything less, this offense will stall faster than a teenager's first stick shift attempt. All right. I mean, they've invested heavily in this backfield, but the investments don't always guarantee returns. I think they're going to go with a running back committee approach, but are we going to see Chuba Hubbard step up and continue off that momentum of last year? Is Miles Sanders going to live up to the expectations of that contract? Right? Can Rashad Penny stay healthy through a full season and be that short down third down running back that we need? Right? I predicted it last week, when it came to the running backs, and their roles. I think that it's still Chuba Hubbard, right? I still think it's Chuba Hubbard. I still think he's the leading back at this point, right? I don't see anybody else. Taking the number one spot till otherwise. I mean, unless somehow Jonathan Brooks comes out of this ACL and returns to his old self, but I don't see that happening. Right? I think that they're all going to be utilized differently, right? Because when it comes to who's going to be the starter, who's going to be that number two guy, who's going to be the short yardage back, right? And again, I think Chuba Hubbard's going to be the split starter, right? I think it's still going to be Miles Sanders who's going to be a split starter. I think Chuba, because of the only reason why I say Miles Sanders is because of the whole contract thing, right? I think Chuba Hubbard again is going to stroll into the season as the unquestioned starter. I think Dave Canales gives off that vibe of a coach who's going into this thing with an open mind. I think he's going to wipe this slate clean from a year ago. I think Hubbard undoubtedly wins this job. It hasn't been earned just yet. And I think obviously training camp coming up, this is one of the groups you're going to want to watch, right? But again, Miles Sanders to this whole thing is he carries the 8th largest cap hit on this Panthers roster, right? So I know these roles aren't determined by your paycheck. Okay. When you're paying a running back that much, you need to give the guy every opportunity to redeem himself. Okay. In his defense, the offensive line was a mess. Okay. So if we're going to give Bryce, some leeway, if we're going to give Mingo some leeway, we got to be able to give these other guys leeway. Right. So I'm giving Miles Sanders that leeway, right? This does leave him little room to maneuver, though, because I think of him as a high-priced veteran who's still got a lot to improve. Then you talk, okay, so let's go to Jonathan Brooks. Okay, Brooks is coming off that ACL tear, which is likely it's like trying to run a marathon with a boulder strapped to your leg, right? It's going to take this kid time to get back 100%, both physically and mentally. I don't care what y'all say. Everybody's like, oh, he'll be fine. Everybody's so optimistic about him coming back. Yeah, he's going to come back, but I don't know if he's going to come back right away. I think that we will get lucky if this guy comes back by week 4. I really do. We have a room full of veterans. You got Canales will likely ease him back in, which I still believe. Only Brooks gains full confidence in his knee and in his understanding of this offense. He might just take over the running back one. I think for now, he's a promising rookie, kind of just biding his time. I think he's a rotational guy at best right now, but an eventual starter. Okay. You got to go. And then let's talk about Rashad Penny, because I do like Rashad Penny because we do need that bruiser back, right? And there's basically anybody on this team right now, I think that out of anybody, maybe besides, because I think Brooks can be a bruiser. You know, when you watch his game film, at times he can be, right? And he's shown a lot of that, but his elusiveness is what makes Brooks so great as a running back when you watch his game film. But Rashad Penny is going to be a short yardage goal line guy. I don't see them keeping 5 backs though. But back to Rashad Penny, I think he has dealt with more injuries than he has. He's dealt with more injuries than a demolition derby driver. All right, preventing him from really being a top tier back. But when he is healthy, he's more productive than a caffeine fueled beaver. All right. I mean, he's average. If you go look at his average, right? In seasons that, if you go look up his seasons where he's played 10 or more games, Penny is average like 4.9 yards per carry, 5.7 and 6.3 yards per carry. So his 220-pound frame is something I think the Panthers that we didn't have last year, right? And I think he's a guy that can help them move the chains in short yardage situations. And then Raheem Blackshear. Unfortunately, I think he's just going to be a kick returner, depth back. He might even be moved back to practice squad. You know, personally, I've never been sold on his potential as a rotational back. He's really someone who can give you a carry or two every now and then, but not a guy who will carve out a substantial role in the backfield. But he does add value as a returner, right? I think of him as a special teams guy who can really step in just kind of when need be. I think Blackshear, though, I did see a lot of promise out of Blackshear when he was getting thrown the ball out of the backfield. So I will say that with Blackshear. Let's see what else we got here. 6 wins seems realistic. I mean, I'm sticking with the 6 wins, guys. 8 or 9, Anthony Brown comes in. Mark Burke says the Provo line will help the run game too, for sure. Nope, Landon, we picked him up a while back. I think Blackshear is staying around for the kick return duties, some passing third situations, maybe. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be hard. It's going to be very hard for them to keep 5 running backs on this team, you know? Well, that's cool, Landon. I wouldn't tell everybody that, but I think that's cool. Feel free to put in your comment. Feel free to get in the comment section because I do have a Q&A question up. Really would love to hear your comments, guys, on your biggest questions or concern for the Panthers heading into this season. So sound off the comments. I live in Chambers County, Texas. Like, oh wow. Maybe Mark, but I know Blackshear is a dynamic kick return. ISM is a dynamic punt return for sure. For sure. I love ISM. Coker's another young man I think has a bright future. What's good, Faye? Appreciate you joining, man. Appreciate you joining. So another thing is, before I get into this statement, there was news out there that came out today that, or not today, but recently I heard that there was some interesting ranking by some NFL, I think, analysts from the Bleacher Report kind of came out and said that this defense is going to be like a bottom 3 defense. There has been some scrutiny recently for these guys. I mean, again, and it's not, I don't think that's true, right? I mean, they finished in the top 10 and even in the top 5 in several defensive categories. I think that this defense is severely being underrated. The Carolina, the Carolina Panthers entered the new season, and the Bleacher Report, Matt Holder, came out and said that he thinks that the Carolina Panthers enter this new season with the 3rd worst defense in the league. All right. So Holder's argument is that it seems that it's rooted to a few high-profile departures, right? The trade of Brian Burns, the premier pass rusher who racked up 8 sacks last season, right? The premier one. 46 over the past 5 years is a significant loss. Holder isn't sold on Janavion Clowney despite his 9.5 sacks last year. Benefited from a robust supporting cast in Baltimore. Similar to DJ Wanham's promising stats, might be the less impressive than without Daniel Hunter drawing double teams. The linebacker core also took a hit in the departure of Frankie Luvu, who led this team in 125 tackles last season, contributed 5.5 sacks. And then he's even saying YGM, who chipped in his share of sacks, is now Downing, who's now wearing a 49er jersey. So then there's this whole versatile Jeremy Chin, right? Now with the Commanders, whose do-it-all role was sorely missed, right? Basically, this Holder guy, the Bleacher Reports, Cristobal, basically saying that our defense is trying to patch itself up like a ship with duct tape and optimism. He sees a lot of product walking out the door and doubts the replacements will fill the sizable cleats, right? I would say let's punt the brakes on the doom and gloom parade, considering the broader picture here. Yes, we lost Brian Burns. We lost Luvu. We lost Gross Matos. We lost Chin. Some of those guys really hurt, right? I would say the Burns and Luvu out of those guys hurt. Chin hasn't really done much ever since his rookie season, and YGM hit or miss. So really, you've only really lost 2 guys. But football is a team sport. Defense success often hinges more on than just a few stars. And I think that's where that's where this whole mass media gets a little different, right? But here's the biggest question mark for me this defense is there enough depth on this defensive line, guys? Because here's the thing, and I see y'all going off in the chat. Derek Brown, O'Shawn Robinson, and Shy Tuttle, right, are the solid foundation of our defensive line. But beyond them, you look at the depth chart, it's very murky. All right. Let's be honest. Nick Thurman, LeBron Ray aren't exactly inspiring confidence, and 6th-round pick Jaden Crometti is really an unpredictable, is about as unpredictable as a lottery ticket. Let's be honest. I mean, Dan Morgan has promised to be aggressive on the waiver wire, right? The D-line could be his first stop if he can shore up this area. The Panthers' defensive front might crumble under pressure. I mean, another thing is if we're talking about the defensive line, another part of this team that bothers me too is, will they add more corner depth, right? That's another concern for me, because cornerback is another area where the Panthers are walking on thin ice. They've been flirting this idea of bringing back Stephon Gilmore But as time drags on, the reunion seems less likely than a snowstorm in July. I mean, without Gilmore, Dane Jackson is set to be the starting corner opposite J.C. Horn. And at this point, I'd rather take a chance on Gilmore for at least depth purposes. Not saying Stephon Gilmore is going to come back here and be the old Stephon Gilmore, right? But the thing is Jackson is serviceable. He's more suited to a supporting role than being a headliner guy in that cornerback room. I mean, meanwhile, that they have this durability of I mean, Horn really has about the durability of paper mache. Sorry, he has. He spent more time on the injury list than on the field. So banking on his help, to me, for a full season is riskier than a high stakes game of poker. And you're playing high stakes game of poker with a visible hand. You're just like, here are my cards. So to me, the Panthers are desperately need another reliable cornerback to avoid, and I would say the same thing to the defensive line. I think they need to add more. Truly. I think they need to add more depth there. And when it comes to Stephon Gilmore, he's already came out and said that he's still waiting for the right opportunity. So to me, it doesn't sound like that either. And then you've got this whole thing right now. You've got two players plus DJ Wanham who can miss the start of training camp, right? You got some, DJ Johnson got carted off the field with a knee injury. But luckily enough, it wasn't serious. So it was a crisis averted, right? But there are pressing concerns to me still on this team too, with the defensive line and that, but also some injuries. Like you got DJ Wanham. When is he going to come back? You got obviously Jonathan Brooks, but we're not even going to talk about that. I mean, you could even say Iku Liate, or however you pronounce his name. These guys aren't ready. But DJ Wanham is another thing that I have to kind of think about, because Wanham is still in the mid of after going under surgery back in December for a torn quad. So Wanham wasn't exactly, dripping with optimism. But it sounds like DJ Wanham still got ways to go. We know John, but I'm not, we already know about Jonathan Brooks. I mean, so the injuries are a concern for me. I mean, there are free agents that this team could go out and go get, right? I mean, they could, again, Stephon Gilmore still out there. They could go sign a guy like Tyus Bowser, right? With the whole, obviously with DJ Wanham's struggle, you could go out and get a Tyus Bowser. It's a guy that's played in a 3-4 defense. He's had over 19 and a half sacks in his seven seasons. That's a guy you could go get. You could add him. And you could also sign Nick Gates. There's a free agent out there who I think could be very beneficial to our offensive line. I'm trying to see what other free agents are out there that we could probably look into to help out this team. But there are still some concerns for me, right? There's a lot of question marks heading into this heading into the season. Obviously, we got training camp coming up. So I mean, there's so many pieces when you look at when you look at this roster, there's still some concerns for me. I mean, again, we reshape the offensive line. To me, looks good, right? So I'm not too worried there. Offensively, injuries, position wise, really don't see much holes. I mean, unless you want to consider the quarterback position still a hole, which I mean, I'm sure some of you do because you're not Bryce fans. Landon comes in and says, Clay, we need a whole new corner. We're trash at DB. And it's slim pickings right now for if you were looking for free agents. It's very slim pickings. So you're definitely gonna have to wait for waiver wires, and you hope that guys get cut or guys that can fill these holes or add depth to your team can definitely can fill these concerns that I have, right? Maybe we draft a DB, or maybe the DB we drafted Wade will step up. Again, I don't know if I want to sit around and wait for that though, Phenom. Like, I mean, Wade, it was considered to come in and be really a we don't know kind of guy, right? Well, we weren't sure, but he's been known to not really be an outside guy. He's been known to be a nickel guy. So, and they've only used him in nickel through these mandatory mini camps and OTAs, but they said by training camp, they actually might try Smith Wade out on the outside. So to me, there's no telling, really. There's no telling. I can look here. We can look at, I mean, if we look at the free agents right now available, and we're looking at the positions. So the biggest concern, all right, we were talking about defense, right? Or defensive line. Okay. Now we're looking at these, here. Again, we also have a lot of hell no, Mark Adams is falling off. Yeah, you don't want to get, you don't want to go out and get those guys. So defensive line, we could go out and get Emmanuel Ogba. If we want to add to the edge, I mean, you could bring in, like, these are the guys that are available. I mean, we're talking defensive line, like just defensive line, like D tackle. Your best bet, really, there's not much. They could go back and bring in Chris Wormley, but again, I mean, when it comes to looking at who's available, it's very slim pickings. I mean, unless you want to pay a old Fletcher Cox, but I don't see that happen. Maybe Brian Moan they bring in, but I don't even know if he's available. Signed a 2-year extension. Oh, he doesn't become a free agent until next year. What about this Hassan? Or maybe David Bada? He's a free agent right now. Hasn't really done much. Damn. I mean, there's literally barely any defensive tackle players. Maybe, let's see who else we got. I mean, Ross, I've never even heard of this guy, Albert Huggins. There's really not much defensive tackle help. You know, what's crazy, Marcos, about DJ Johnson is that he came out and said, they first came out and said that it was a knee injury, and then there was like something that came out a couple hours later saying it was it wasn't a knee injury, it was a calf injury. And then luckily enough, he'll be ready to go by training camp, but it was a minor injury. Yeah, Adams is done. Adams is done. So from the defensive tackle standpoint, there's slim pickings in free agency, guys. I mean, there's nobody. There's really nobody. If we want to talk about corner position, I mean, Xavier Howard's available, but he's got a lot too much drama. You got JC Jackson, but I don't know if JC did he sign with New England? Sign a 5-year. JC Jackson signed a 5-year. Oh, he's still. But wait, he says. Okay, that was back in. Yeah, but he's available, right? Says he's available. Corners available. So I mean, Adoree Jackson maybe. I mean, it's so slim pickings now when it comes to what we got less. There's just not much left, man. So, I mean, again, waiver wires when it comes to the defensive tackle position and the corner position, I definitely think we're going to have to hit both of those positions hard if we don't obviously sign someone. If we're looking at the center position, I mean, who's available? There's no way. Didn't Connor Williams just sign? Yeah, he just signed that contract. I think. Landon, you're talking about a video game, man. I can tell you right now, Adams is done. The safety position's changed, Landon. But I mean, when we talk about the center position too, guys, I mean, that's another thing. I mean, are we gonna be trustworthy to are we gonna be trustworthy to Austin Corbett at the center position? Right? So trying to see, but there's not much free agents left. There's just not. So waiver wires is just going to be it's going to have to be huge. It's going to have to be huge. Yeah, Jamal Adams is not good. Broski Bear, I'm right there with you, man. I wouldn't bring him back until I wouldn't bring him back either until he's fully healthy. I mean, I don't disagree with you there. I would not bring Jonathan Brooks back until he's fully healthy. Because I do think it would be stupid to bring him back. I think it would be stupid to bring him back or bring him back coming off that kind of injury. I just don't see. I think that you got to keep Jonathan Brooks as a if you want him to be, I think if we want him to be what we drafted him to be, I think you let him heal up as long as you can. Broski Bear's in here now rapping. Oh my God, why can't I think of the group? Why can't I think of I can hear the song right now. I'm gonna have to look up the song now. Broski Bear's got going on in the chat. What's the damn song? Oh my God. Why am I having such I was listening to it the other day. Oh my God. Broski Bear, you gotta give me. Yeah. Oh my God. Why can't I think of it? Why can't I think of it? I have to look it up. Mob Deep. That's right. Duh. That used to be my shit. I like the old school better than the new school. Can't listen to that new shit. Oh, other news about the Carolina Panthers. Meant to bring this up to you guys. What up, Matt Chatter? Meant to bring this up to you guys. I saw this tweet today. Oh dang. Where's it at? Or it wasn't the other day, it was today, I think. Here. So during special meeting of the Charlotte City Council to give a public chance to address the Bank of America reservation, speakers in favor of 15 of the $800 million project outnumbered those 6 by opposed, which was 6 people, close to 3-1. So the Charlotte City Council later is set to vote on the Panthers' rezoning request for their practice facility field house later today, and the renovation vote is scheduled for next Monday. Mad Chatter, what's up, man? So a bunch of news there. It sounds like. It says that Joe Parsons comes out and says that among those who spoke in favor were former Panthers wide receiver Muhsin Muhammad, Dan Morrison, and a number of biz owners and leaders who spoke on the economy impact of improving the stadium. Obviously, the people that opposed it pointed out these things. David Tapper's history of failed public-private projects at Eastland Mall in Rock Hill, South Carolina, giving $650 million to an owner worth $20 billion. And they need for more than 3 weeks to discuss, debate a project of this magnitude. So, very interesting. So 15 out of so basically 21 votes happened and 15 were in favor of the new rebuild. So it sounds like to me Carolina is going to get The renovations. I mean, I guess they got to vote again next Monday, but they're going to vote. I think they said they were going to vote on. Yes, later to set a vote on the Panthers rezoning request for the practice facility and field house later on today. But then the renovation vote again is scheduled for next Monday. So, very interesting. Pretty interesting update on the Panthers stadium request there. It's going to be pretty interesting to see how that pans out. So, guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Everyone in here, make sure you pound that like button. Whether you're on Twitter or on YouTube, make sure you, if you're on Twitter, make sure you come on over to the YouTube channel. Make sure you pound the like button, hit the subscribe. That's the best way you can show your support. And as always, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you become a member today. And there's perks, a lot more perks coming with that. And also feel free to join the Discord. It's free. It gives you up-to-date times when I'm live. And we got our main man, Zach Rappaport, who's always in there. Obviously posting up, news and content for the Carolina Panthers. He's always in there posting it up for me. Always when something new comes out. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna hop off of here. Just gonna keep it short and sweet as always. I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. Make sure I've been a member. I ain't got to. It's common Vietnam. I'm working on it. That's something I've been working on for the past week. Is I want some merch and stuff like that. I'm going to get it out to you guys. I'm working on getting some merch together. I'm also trying to create my own merch into that as well. But there's some things that I want to create for you guys personally. Like I want to make some streetwear of Carolina Panthers streetwear of my own and create it and make it of my own. And guys who become members are going to get that. But once the season gets started, Phenom, there's going to be like a lot more perks once the season starts. Because the off season, it's not like we can do meetups. There's not like we can go to the games. There's not like, the only thing I can do is giveaways and stuff like that. Well, I appreciate that, Phenom. See, that's a true member. That's a true member. So I appreciate that. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to hop over here. Appreciate everyone joining. Of course, going to get some more content out to you later on this, probably tonight. Going to be working on some shorts. Clay Strip. What's up? But I appreciate that. So I'm going to get out of here. Y'all keep pounding. Peace.